Now let's learn a bit more about the pathophysiology and progression of cancer. So we're looking at a malignant tumor. So here we have a layer of cells in a particular tissue. It can be from the prostate, the breast, for example. And this is normal. These are healthy cells. And let's look at it from a different view, from a bird's eye view. So here we have the cells, and they are dividing in a controlled manner. And of course, the cells have a blood supply. However, one of these cells here, normal cells, can become cancerous. When a healthy cell turns into a cancerous cell, the process is known as transformation. And this can be caused by genetic changes where you can have alterations in the genes. It can be caused by an infection, or it can be caused by an environmental factor, such as carcinogens. And recently it has been said that air pollution is one of the main causes of cancer. So this is the main environmental factor. So these genetic mutations, infections, and environmental factors are basically the causes of cancer. Once a cell becomes cancerous, it will cause abnormal changes to occur in the tissue. This is referred now to as dysplasia. So dysplasia is abnormal development or changes in the tissue. So here I'm representing the layer of the cell turning red as abnormal. Before continuing on, we should know a little bit more about the cancer cells. Just to summarize, cancer cells basically do their own things. So cancer cells are characterized by anaplasia. Anaplasia means loss of differentiation and organization. So first of all, if a normal cell becomes a cancer cell through mutation changes, the cancer cell itself can have further mutations, causing it to be different than the previous one. And so you have a variety of cancer cells. They're never the same. Now, loss of organization means that these cancer cells, they don't have to stay in one layer. They could just stack on top of each other, even though they're not meant to. Finally, cancer cells are characterized by autonomy. Autonomy means independence from normal cellular control. So normally cells will divide in a controlled manner. So it can divide slowly, for example. However, in the cancer cells case, the cancer cells divide very rapidly. They proliferate heaps. They are not under control. So essentially, after dysplasia, as the cancer cells multiply and proliferate very rapidly due to the characteristics of autonomy and anaplasia, the tissues can develop and become a neoplasia, a tumor. Because remember, neoplasia and tumor means new growth. So these red things now are all cancer cells, and they're stacking on top of each other. So looking at it from a layer point of view, these red cancer cells are stacking on top of each other, creating a tumor, a neoplasia. Further, you can see that there's a variety of colors, meaning that a different variety of cancer cells due to continuous mutation. Further, new blood vessels will also begin to form to supply nutrients and energy for these cancer cells. Then, after a while, the cancer cells will divide even more and can become an invasive neoplasia, where the new blood vessels are formed all around the tissue. And the cancer cells can essentially move into the blood vessels and invade other organs and tissues. So looking at it from a different view, you can see how these cancer cells are multiplying and creating a tumor, a neoplasia, and at the same time the bottom layer is penetrating through the tissue into the blood vessel. And so when it goes into the blood vessel, it can invade other organs and other tissues. So I hope you understood those processes. So from dysplasia, it can become a tumor, and then it can become an invasive tumor. Let's learn a bit more about the formation of these new blood vessels and why is it important for cancer cells. The process of new blood cell formation is termed angiogenesis. So angiogenesis is new vessel formation and maturation. So here we have the blood vessels with its epithelial cells. The blood vessels have to supply the cancer cell, the tumor, because the tumor needs nutrients to grow, to keep growing. So here we have the cancer cells and they're multiplying very rapidly, these tumors. And as you can see, there are different colors here, which implies different variants of the cancer cells. Within the blood vessels, you find red blood cells and other things. Now, these cancer cells, this tumor, this neoplasia, they secrete what's called angiogenic factors. On the epithelial cells of the blood vessels, you have these receptors for these angiogenic factors. So these angiogenic factors that are secreted include VEGF, PDGF, and BFGF. And they bind onto these receptors. So they bind onto these receptors and they will essentially cause new blood vessels to be formed. And so this will allow the cancer cells within the tumor to enter the bloodstream more easily through pressure or through other means, such as secreting some form of chemicals. So when these cancer cells enter the bloodstream, they will encounter the immune system there. And the immune system will obviously try to destroy and stop these abnormal cancer cells. However, with so many cancer cells, and maybe with a deficient immune system, the immune system obviously cannot keep this at bay, and so the cancer cells can successfully enter the bloodstream and travel to other organs and other tissues, causing further problems. And please, what we saw then was a malignant tumor, not a benign tumor. And that concludes the video on Introduction to Cancer. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.